Well, Jared, certainly these are crazy times for everybody, but it seems like it's especially crazy for you, man. So can you just talk about just getting to this moment, everything you've had to go through?
Oh, my God, there's such a mess. So, like, 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks before I flew to Vegas, I wake up one day, I'm, like, in and out of sleep, and my fiance's like, Jared, you're burning hot. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, you have a fever. But I was, like, in and out of consciousness, and I was like, no, I don't. And she turns over and she touches me. She's like, you are on fire. So she got a thermometer, and I had like 102 something fever. And I was like, oh no, I must have got coronavirus, because I live in Florida. I think we have like the most cases like in the world right now. So I'm like, oh wow, I had, like, what else could it be? Everyone has coronavirus right now. I must have got it. So I got tested like 3 times in 1 week, negative. I got an antibody test, negative. I was taking all these different tests. They were all negative. So I'm like, all right. So it took me like a week to recover. But the day after I woke up with that fever, my fiance had a miscarriage. She was like 10 weeks along, and I was like in dad mode. I was like, I'm gonna be a dad. Like, I was like looking at strollers and shit to buy. And she had a miscarriage, and it was a miserable time for both of us, you know. We were obviously both spiritually and mentally and emotionally, physically drained. Obviously, she was physically in pain. It took like 4 days for her to, you know, go through it all. And like after like 4 days, she wakes up and she's like, my throat hurts. And I'm like, you had a rough week, so you're probably just feeling a little. But she owns she was on that American Ninja Warrior show. So we opened a gym, an American Ninja Warrior obstacle course gym, and she was like, I have to get tested before I go back to the gym, because there's kids everywhere. You know, I'm not going to go back to the gym and spread around coronavirus. So we both go get tested. I get my result. I'm eating food. I get my results, and I'm like, oh, negative, thank God. She comes out of the room with her phone, and in red letters it says positive. And I'm like, this was 10 days before I left for Vegas. I'm like, holy shit. And she's like, you gotta leave the apartment. You can't be here. So like, I'm eating food, and like, at the drop of a dime, I had to pack all my stuff for Abu Dhabi. And I'm like, gear, mouthpiece, cup, supplements, clothes. I'm just like throwing all my stuff in the bag. I had to like go to like different stores because I left stuff at home, and she didn't want me coming back inside. So I go quarantine at a rental unit that she owns. A couple miles for us. Luckily, it was furnished and empty. It's never empty. Luckily, it was empty. So she had coronavirus. The symptoms never got that bad, but she had it for like 14 days, 15 days. She just started feeling better like a couple days ago. So I leave. I quarantine by myself. Everyone in my gym was testing positive. My coaches, Gilbert Burns, obviously. I was training with him days before that. Herbert Burns was supposed to corner me, but couldn't because he was with his brother and they wouldn't let him come. Lost all my corners. So the week leading up to going to Vegas, I got to get tested. I'm not going to show up to Vegas and be positive. So on the Wednesday before I left, I got tested. And apparently the place I was going, I was spending $300 a test to get like same day results. The place I was going to apparently had like the best machine for accuracy. So I got tested on Wednesday, negative. I go back Friday, negative. I was going to do it Saturday, but it was 4th of July, so they were closed. So I left Sunday thinking, all right, and I was quarantined. I was going to like supermarkets and stuff like that, but like I was staying away from people. I flew to Vegas, got there, got tested, negative. Great, I'm going to Fight Island. Then I'm hanging out with Paul Felder at the hotel. He flies from Philly next to Dean Thomas, who tested positive. So they make Paul quarantine now I'm freaking out. Oh my God. I was hanging out with Paul all day yesterday. We were running together, sweating on each other, like hanging out. I'm gonna get coronavirus now. So I fly here, I get tested. I find out Paul's good. They're gonna make him stay as long as he gets a couple more negatives. They'll send him to Fight Island. So I fall asleep at whatever it was, 4 or 5 in the morning when we got here. Got tested, went to my room. I wake up from a phone call at like 4 o'clock p.m. from Mick Maynard. Mick Maynard never calls me because he is not the matchmaker for my division. So I'm like, this has got to be bad. So he called, hey mate, it's Mick Maynard. I was like, what's up? He was like, there he is. He goes, I got some bad news, mate. I was like, what? He's like, your results came back positive. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is impossible. It has to be. So now I'm like, oh, my fight's off. In my head, I'm like, I better get paid. I came all the way over here. I'm freaking out. Everything I went through for this to happen, and now I'm putting everything together. I flew on the plane with everyone, the UFC staff, all the commentators, the production team, Dana White. I took a picture hugging him, Bisping, Matt Serra, and Matt and Bisping posted that picture so the whole world sees it. So if I actually had the virus, like that would have botched all of UFC's plans. Like they had a foolproof plan. I guess it wasn't foolproof, and it would. So now I'm in my room. I gotta wait 12 hours for the next results. I'm staring at my phone, waiting for a phone call. Now I have to cut weight and train. I'm not training. I showed up to my room and there was a display of cookies that said "Welcome to Fight Island" on it. I got that phone call from Mick, and I just looked at the cookies right away. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. I want to eat all the food in my room. They were, giving us that quarantine menu food. I have to work out on my balcony by myself. I've been working out for 14 days by myself. Every workout I did for 2-3 times a day was by myself. That's hard to get motivated to do that. Yeah, I go running every week, but most of my workouts are with teammates, with coaches. We're holding mitts. We're getting happy. We're excited. We're having fun. I got to do every workout on my own in Florida in 98-degree heat, 100% humidity. It's worse feeling than here. It's hotter here, but it's more humid in Florida right now. But I got through it, and then I had to cut weight. I cut 12.5 pounds yesterday. My first time going back to 45 in 3 years. But I had a dominant performance. Wanted to finish. I thought it was a little boring. What'd you think? Threw a lot of punches, but I wanted to finish. Almost got to finish. 30-26 every round. I'll take it. But it's been one hell of a last couple of weeks for me, and I'm just grateful to be here. I give it all to God, because that's.
What was it like? I mean, just explaining everything that you went through. I mean, tonight as you're getting ready with your replacement team in your corner, I mean, focused. I mean, how do you stay dialed in? How do you stay ready for a fight? So this is I went through a lot and stuff, but I've sat in jail cells thinking I'm going away for life, dodging gang members and killers. I'm locked up with rapists and killers, I'm thinking I'm going away for life, and I'm sitting there, I'm waiting for to go to court, in shackles for the judge, some redneck judge, to tell me you're going away for life. So I've had a lot of pressure like that before, and I always get through it. And I know the feeling. I've been in a lot of situations where I'm I don't know what's going to happen. It's out of my control. The only thing I can do is give it to God, and that's what I had to do this whole time. When I was younger, I didn't believe in God. But after all these years of going through everything I went through, it's clear to me that He's the only reason why I'm still alive and I'm doing what I'm doing. So after everything you've been through, I'm sure you're going to decompress a little bit, man, just kind of come down for this moment. But give me an idea. What's the plan from here? I mean, are you thinking about your next fight, or are you thinking about personal stuff right now?
Well, I'm going to get back to my fiance. She deserves everything right now. She supported me through all of this when a lot of people would have said, all right, I'm not going to fight, I'll help you from a distance. Obviously, I couldn't be in the room with her, but I'm going to go home. She's feeling good now. We're ready to embrace each other. But, I want to fight. I finally got to the division that I'm supposed to be in, back to the division after 3 years of injuries. I had an eye surgery in November. I had a plate put in my face. I won the fight before that, but the fight before that, I got my pelvis pulled off my hamstring, or my hamstring pulled off my pelvis in my fight against Joaquim Silva. I did well when I first got to UFC. My 2 first wins were dominant, and I missed weight my first fight, so they made me move up. So finally, after 3 years, I'm able to go back to the division that I belong to be in. 55, I'm fighting out of my weight class. When the guys start getting really big and really technical, where do I find the advantage? Today, I was the bigger guy, and I was clearly the more technical guy. So I had a dominant performance, and that's how it should be. That's how it should have been. And I'm ready to, I have to improve, but I'm ready to do that. And if there's one thing that I'm good at doing, it's getting better at something. So whether it's personal or emotional or spiritual, I will get better at it, or physical, like this is. And I'm just grateful to be here, man. And I don't give I don't care about money right now. I don't care about. All I want to do is help other people by using my platform. And unfortunately, this is not unfortunately, but UFC is where I have to do it because this is the biggest league, and this is where I deserve to be. So I'm ready.
Jared, yep.
Oh.
Yeah. First of all, sorry to hear about your fiancés and everything you've been through. How hard was it to leave the apartment right away and being away from her after all this?
So I was eating I went vegan for a while, and I was eating some vegan buffalo bowl, and I was like, oh, this is really good. And I just got my negative result for my test, and she comes out of the room. She was making a business phone call, so she was on the phone, and then I'm like, all right, we're good. I'm negative. She's got to be negative. She comes out of the room with her phone, and in big red letters it says positive, and I'm like, she's like, you got to get out of here. So I wasn't planning on packing for another week, so I had to drop all my stuff right there, and I'm like, oh, bag. I got to get a bag. I need another bag, and I'm throwing everything in a suitcase. I'm just throwing stuff in there. I'm I don't even know if I'm going to use half this stuff. My supplements, my gear, my mouthpiece, my cup, my this, my that, my recovery stuff. It was a lot, and I had to go to other stores to buy stuff that I left at home, and because she didn't want me to come back and get infected, and I had to leave her after she had a miscarriage and got diagnosed with coronavirus. So she was going through a lot of pain, She was hurting, cramping, bleeding. She had to pass the baby. And then 3 days later, the girl gets fucking coronavirus. Fuck coronavirus. And she was like, my throat hurts. And I was like, you're probably, you're having a rough week. And then she gets coronavirus. What is that? So the both of us are just we're giving it to God. We don't know what else to do. Right now this world is in a weird place. I'm talking to friends and they're like, I don't know what to do with my life right now. This is a very weird time for me. People that had stability and a life, and they're lost. I'm lucky to be here right now and do this and be able to support my fiance is a successful person also, but it's scary, and so to be away from her sucks. But she supports me. She was an elite gymnast for her whole life. She was better athlete than me, so she knows what it's like to give to your craft and to do everything you can to win. So I'm lucky that she knows that feeling. She's a competitor, so I was able to step away.
Speaking about the actual fight, the big storyline coming into this fight was the fact that Paul Felder was going to be in your corner, coming from the booth.
Took all my shine.
But how was it to get ready for the fight and warm up backstage without having a team around you?
I just moved to Florida and started training with Sanford MMA. I've known Henry Hooft for 10 years, since I'm a little kid. I actually got arrested in front of him once. When I was talking about sitting in the jail cell, he saw me get arrested for that. So I've known him for a while, and when I got to UFC, he saw me backstage and he was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I'm in the UFC now. He's like, you're in the UFC? So it was funny, my fiance owns a couple businesses in Florida, so I decided to move from Rufus Sport to Florida full time, and I wanted to train with Henry, and to not have them, after everything I went through, it didn't even matter. When the UFC called me and said, hey, you have no more corners, they were like, what do you want to do? I was like, do I need a corner? Can someone else, can the cut man bring me water or something? What else do I need? So they would have said the same shit that the corners today told me, All right, move your head, throw the punch, take him down. It's funny though, because I know Paul obviously forever, one of my close friends, teammates for 10 years. We've been through so much. Nick Sick, I know him, but we'd never trained together, but we clicked right away. All week we were training, doing mitts, it was perfect. And then Gary Tonin, he's one of the best grapplers on the planet. I trained with him for a long time at Henzo's in New York City, where I'm from. So, like, he knew my game. And he was like, all right, like, I just want you to watch out for this. The guillotine defense that I showed today, we drilled that all week long. And it was perfect. Yeah, it was getting a little tight for a second, but, like, it was perfect. And it all worked out perfectly. Everything came together